Good morning and welcome. I'm Pete Najarian. This is Market Rebellion, and this is The Take. And I am looking at going out of last week, and we talked about, matter of fact, Friday, I was on CNBC Fast Money, the 5 o'clock show. And the interesting part was I wanted to point out there that there's a couple of things going on, one of which is the headline is different almost, it seems, every single day. And whatever that general headline is of each day, that's going to dictate where the stock market is going. And we've had several circumstances now where we've heard, well, there's a vaccine out there and that's popping the markets to the upside. Obviously, we all understand that. But we also have to understand, oftentimes when we're hearing this, it is in the very early stages and it's phase one and all the rest of it, and it's pushing out time, but there is excitement and that will move the markets. Then there's obviously the China tensions with the United States and all the trade deals and everything. And there's so much there to unpack that's another area that can push the markets around, specifically, mostly it seems to the downside. So that's really where we are. We're in this headline driven market. It's been like that for quite a long time, actually, especially over the last couple of months as we were getting into this year and things were starting to move around. And then suddenly we get the coronavirus, we get the pandemic, and suddenly everything is thrown up for grabs. And then the money that's being thrown, there are so many different factors that come into play every single day. The price of oil going negative. I don't know how many people had predicted that. So what did we trade off on Friday? Well, the trade was the China tensions with the United States, and that was driving the markets down, and very interesting to watch which sectors and what was really pushing and pulling and all the rest of that. But one thing that we've been talking about for a while now has been, when you look at these markets and you try to dig a little bit deeper, everybody still wants to talk about the Power Five, the Big Five, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. I think the reality, and I want to continue to press this upon everybody who's out there willing to listen, that there's much more going on than just 5 stocks or 7 stocks. If you look around in the foundation of what's really been moving in the marketplace, you've seen all kinds of different moves in all kinds of areas of the marketplace that really should stick out as well. I'll bring up biotech once again, semiconductors once again. Technology, but not just the Big Five. There are all kinds of different areas of the marketplace that have been moving to the upside and have been very strong and showing that strength. And yet, for whatever reason, it's oftentimes passed over. So I just want to continue to pound on the table to just say, hey, look, there is more to it than just 5 or 6 or 7 stocks. Yes, they're the big market cap stocks, but within the markets themselves, when you look at, there are many other areas in the marketplace that are showing some strength and some areas that are starting to turn. And I think we're ready to start seeing some of that move to the upside. Now, all that being said, we've watched the price of oil go from $17 a month ago. It was negative before that. $17 a month ago, all the way up $33 in 1 month. That was a pretty significant move. Still seems to be passed over fairly frequently. It does get talked about, but that's an extraordinary move in a very short period of time. And it just seems as if that has been something that a lot of people just have not wanted to really talk about on a day in and day out basis, but still very important. There are so many different factors there when we're talking about jobs, we're talking about the economy, we're talking about where is the demand going to come from. And there are so many other factors there and some of the read-throughs that you've got there. And so that's something that I think you just always have to keep in the back of your mind. Now, as we get into today, what's today's headline? Well, it's a vaccine. Once again, markets, we're looking at the markets. They were up overnight. They were up going into the pre-market. We had a big explosive move. They were up 400, 500. Then actually, once we got the day started, up over 600 points on the Dow. A nice, big, strong move. S&P up about 2% today. We had the Dow up about 2.5% today. But then you look over at the NASDAQ, and it's lagging a little bit. So the leadership, again, starts to shift, and that's a good thing. We love seeing that rotation. That's a healthier way for the markets to continue to move, especially if we're looking for movement to the upside. You need to see some of that rotation. That's exactly what we're seeing. Now, there are different areas of leadership that we're seeing right now, but the clear-cut winners right now, as you kick around the idea of what's driving the markets and you say it's the vaccines today, well, cruise lines, airlines, those kinds of names, absolutely. I'm looking at Expedia. I'm looking at the airlines. You look at American, United, Southwest. I look at a Carnival Cruise. I look at Norwegian. All of those powering and moving to the upside with that as the backdrop. What's really getting kind of pushed around a little bit to the downside, or at least not participating in this rally of 600 points. Zoom, Electronic Arts, Netflix, those kinds of names. So a lot of this just starts to make a little bit more sense. Now, something could happen and could flip on a dime. Maybe somebody looks at these numbers from the vaccines and says, hey, look, we're really excited about this, but it is too early. And I'm not here to tell you it's too early. I'm here to tell you it's early. And so you have to understand the process of getting these drugs from the very starting point to the next level where they're going to be in some use. And it looks like they're at an accelerated path. So that's obviously something very good. Also something you just have to keep in mind as you're looking. Even Merck today, big, strong day for Merck, and Merck with a large acquisition. There's all kinds of things going on in the marketplace today. Really, really exciting kind of a day. I love one aspect of what I am seeing. A lot of people say, well, it doesn't really matter, Pete. It doesn't. It does matter. It's good to see some of the participation that we've been seeing more frequently in the financials. And today, financials with a pretty explosive move to the upside. Doesn't mean they can't pull back, because they certainly have been in an extremely tight band or range for a while. But with this volatility that we've got, something I was trying to impress upon Mr. Wonderful the other day when I was on the halftime report, and something we talked about just last week when we were with the Market Rebellion gang, was the idea of, hey, look, these are strong companies. They have great balance sheets, but they're in a difficult spot. It's difficult to make, difficult doesn't mean impossible, but difficult to make money right now when you're looking at the big banks and the big financials. Well, does create opportunity, in my opinion. And we were talking about owning these stocks, taking in dividend yields, but also selling premium against that when you've got this still, even though it's come back dramatically, volatility that's in the marketplace. And we're talking about volatility even today, hanging in there. I'm looking at it right now as the market's up 600 plus points. Volatility is down just about a half a point. We're trading right now about 27 and a half. Went out about 28. So gives you some perspective of, well, there's still volatility in the market. People, I think, that's reflected by people not really totally comfortable with sort of the time frame of what might happen in terms of the vaccines, but certainly an exciting day today as the markets have exploded to the upside. Now, another area that it's good to see participating, and they've been participating pretty well in terms of the defense end, but the industrials. So now today we are seeing not just the defense side with Raytheon and Boeing and those kinds of names, Lockheed Martin, but we're also seeing Caterpillar participating, Honeywell participating. So it's nice to see a little bit more broad participation in the industrial space as well. That's looking pretty strong. It's not just the defensive names that are moving to the upside. So there's a lot of different leadership roles that are taken by a lot of different sectors, and that's something that I think has been very good. We talk about rotation. We talk about it all the time. I think that's very, very important. That's a healthier part of the market. I'm going to glance over at the TV. We're up 611 points right now. So a pretty explosive move to the upside and holding on in the first 1 hour of trade so far. We'll see how far that can extend. Do we actually get there to the closing bell and still have significant gains to the upside? That'll be something that's going to be playing out. But I can tell you this, early on, matter of fact, the first unusual option activity that we had seen today, really, and there was all kinds of it already. It's only 1 hour into the trading session. I think there's about 8 unusual option activities that are sitting there on the board right now, all of which were pretty interesting. Had to make a very difficult decision on which one do I really want to pick today, and all kinds of a variety of different sectors, actually. So I decided to take the very first one for a variety of reasons, one of which is it's extremely short term. Everything has been extremely short term. These expire Friday. So these are still May options. And I'm looking at Facebook. So Facebook, right out of the gate this morning, stock was trading $240.60. So this is a $240 stock that's trading near its highs. It just established new highs just last week. So it's trading at those levels. And yet there's still some anticipation that this week it's not over with, because they're out there buying 4,500. Now, again, this is in the first couple of minutes of the day because we're 1 hour into it right now. 4,500 of Friday's expiring 242.5 strike calls, trading right around a little less than $3. So it is a lot of money. It's a pretty large size trade when you multiply that, the 3 times the 4,500 times 100 share, all of that put into a bucket. That's a pretty large trade. So it's interesting to see this right out of the gate with Facebook. And last week, there were names like Twitter that were hitting, Snap that was hitting, all kinds of different names. And it's great to see the variety of names that are hitting and not just specific names in specific sectors. We are seeing every sector from housing. We're seeing it all across the board. We even had some interesting paper again last week in Tesla. Some of these various names that continue to be active, but we're seeing an expansion of that activity going out. It's not just the narrowness of the names that we had for a while. So it's great to see that as well. The volumes last week did come down just a little bit. They're still extremely strong, record pace strong, but down from the previous week. So that's something we're going to keep a track of as well. Folks, have a great day of trading. Understand the options world. Market Rebellion has a great educational arm as well. We really want to preach that you have to have the educational side first so that you can understand all of what goes into the pricing models and understand of what some of the pitfalls can be and how you can try to avoid some of those. Doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. Doesn't mean every trade's ever going to work. That's absolutely nonsense. But the reality is understanding why something didn't work, or at least having a better understanding of trying to piece together all of the reasons why something might be worth taking an opportunity on. So folks, have a great day of trading. We'll see you tomorrow. This is The Take, and I am Pete Najarian.